Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So tonight's going to be one of the few nights you're going to find links in the description. The topic tonight is something I don't think most Americans know, and I don't think most Americans are going to want to believe. So I'm going to provide links when I normally don't. And the links will not be to wild websites. They will be to the U.S. Naval Institute, places like that. Places that would actually have a vested interest in saying what I'm about to say is a lie. But they're not going to. They're going to tell you it's true. So, in 1970, on June 24th, that's today, the Senate repealed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution was the authorization for the Vietnam War, basically. It didn't do any good for them to repeal it, but it was a nice symbolic gesture. Okay, so this resolution was enacted because of the Gulf of Tonkin incident. Most people, most Americans understand the North Vietnamese attacked one of our destroyers. We had no choice but to respond. Okay, so this is what really happened. Operation DeSoto was running. I think in the beginning it was Minesweepers, but in early 1963, U.S. destroyers started running these routes, and it was shipborne spying. They were gathering intelligence on the North Vietnamese from these ships, running up and down the coast. At the same time, DOD and the CIA were running something called Oplan 34A. It was based out of Da Nang. It was a bunch of SEALs, Marine Corps guys, and some civilians who were training South Vietnamese troops in unconventional warfare, putting them on ships or little boats that DOD had given them, sending them north to North Vietnam, having them insert and do commando-style raids. The insertions didn't go very well. The guys kept getting killed or captured or turned, so they started just keeping it right near the shore. These two things were occurring at the same time in the same area. Although it is not in any of the documents that have been declassified so far, DOD certainly should have understood that if there's a U.S. destroyer present and then there's an attack, the North Vietnamese are going to link the two, especially if it happens more than once. On August 2nd, the Maddox was attacked. The day before, Oplan 34A blew up a radio transmitter. It was a response to that attack. That's why the North Vietnamese attacked. That alone wasn't justification for war, though. They needed another one, and they got it on August 4th. And this was a crazy incident. The Maddox expended hundreds of rounds during this battle against fish. They were shooting at sonar echoes. There never was a second attack. It didn't exist, and the administration knew it. The NSA actually helped them fabricate evidence to support the idea that there was an attack, even though there wasn't. That was the justification for the Vietnam War, something that never happened. When senior members of an administration attempt to justify a war that just doesn't seem right and doesn't seem to make sense, pay attention. This is one that is completely verifiable that they knew they were being less than truthful about. It killed tens of thousands of Americans and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Vietnamese. This is all declassified. It's not a secret anymore. The Vietnam War was based on a lie. All of those graves were filled over a lie. That monument, that wall, is there because of a lie. And because, well, Americans chose to support the troops rather than support the truth. Next time you watch Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, whatever, remember that none of it had to have happened. And we run across this all the time now as administrations search for pretexts for war. That was the important thing about tying Iran to Al-Qaeda. The authorization for the use of military force that came out after 9/11 authorized attacks against any state that was helping Al-Qaeda. So if they could tie them to that, then they wouldn't need any more approval. They could just roll with it. That's why it was so important. That's why they did it. It's something that we need to keep in mind. It is something that we definitely need to be aware of, because it hasn't stopped. Since Vietnam, this has happened again and again. Now, we don't have the declassified documents to prove it yet. But just like in this case, they'll show up. And it'll be, so long that those that were affected by it, those who lost their friends, well, they're too old. Nobody cares about them anymore. It's ancient history. The worst war in American history was fought over a lie. It was made up. And it's admitted now that they manufactured it. As we move through the next year or so, I think that's going to be really important to remember. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good night.